निरञ्जनं नित्यं अनन्तरूपं भक्तानुकम्पाधृतविग्रहं वै ईशावतारं परमेशमिड्यं तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामः. Namaste and welcome to our Sunday morning talk on guided meditation. In the last two talks, we have been looking at this very important and sacred topic of the mantra Om or the Pranava, which is exalted in all our scriptures, whether it's the Patanjali Yoga Sutras or the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita, whereby the spiritual teachers recommend to us the practice of the repetition of the mantra, japa, and meditation on its meaning or significance as a means to spiritual illumination, as well as promoting the total well-being of what we are. In this series of talks, while we'll discuss the spiritual goal and how the repetition of the mantra Om, or the mantra that has been given by a spiritual teacher, will ultimately lead you to that perfection. As the teachers say, one can reach that illumination, perfection, siddhi, only through the practice of japa. Japat siddhi, japat siddhi. By repetition of the mantra, one can reach that realization of that supreme being, which is Brahman or the Ishvara or our chosen ideal, as well as to realize or experience ourselves as a spiritual being. That's a tremendous statement. What is contained in this mantra, a few words, so to say, which we hear when the spiritual teacher gives us that initiation, that has this tremendous power to bring about such a revolutionary awakening inside us. That is something very interesting and worthwhile exploring. And if we can get an insight and understanding of what is potentially possible through a very simple process, which can be practiced anywhere and everywhere, without much rituals and ceremonies and material things to worship, just by the process of continuously repeating the mantra with great concentration and devotion, there can happen in us in a spiritual awakening. How, if we can understand a little bit of that science of it, a little bit of that mechanism of it, then that conviction will be a great source of inspiration that, yes, let me try this out in the midst of what I'm doing. It's not a very difficult thing, and dedicate ourselves a bit of our time to that spiritual journey in our life. So this series of talks are trying to share with you, culled from the various sources, from the scriptures, the meaning and the significance and the power of this mantra Om, which is exalted in all the scriptures. In the last two sessions, we talked about the various powers of the mantras and how the mantra Om, starting with A, O, Ma, which we can hear through our ears, that's only the gross manifestation of it. The powers of that mantra become finer and finer and finer. And ultimately, it's like a trail that leads and connects us to that highest being, which is called the Brahman, or the supreme highest manifestation of that Brahman, which is the Ishvara, or the Atman within us. So once we understand the totality, the powers of the mantra Om, which we have been discussing over the last two sessions, then and understand the mechanism by which this unfoldment takes place, hopefully that gives us that required conviction to start practicing the repetition of the mantra or japa of the mantra and meditation on its meaning as a very simple, doable, practical, universal spiritual practice. So, what we will do today is look at the healing and the illuminating powers of the mantra Pranava. I've picked up these two words, healing and illuminating, because you'll see as we go through this, some of the sutras of the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, you'll find that this mantra Om is not only about spiritual illumination, but it helps us unfold the total well-being of what we really are, right from our physical level, through the mental level, emotional level, into the spiritual realm. That means it's a total package, so to say. And the teachers discuss that. So let's have a look at what these mantras are all about. So I prepared a few slides that you'll see on the screen there, which are about this mantra, Om. What it is, what are the powers, how it works, and if you practice your Japan meditation, what will happen with it. So let us look at this, a few sutras. In the chapter 1, verse Sutra 23, the question is asked, how may one develop concentration of mind which is necessary for self-realization? The many techniques are taught. Meditate on this, on the various elements and gods, but we need something where there's a living presence to which we can connect with. I can ask some help, he will respond and help hold my hand and guide me to that. So, is there a being behind this universe who has created this whole of creation, whom I can commune with, I can talk with, and who can help me? That is, I want a living God who can respond to my prayer, so to say. And if there is one, what's his name? Because when I want to talk to somebody, the first thing I ask you is, what's your name? And then I'm going to address you by that name, and you will know that you are the person being called and not somebody else. And once that communication starts, then whatever information, knowledge, love, kindness, affection, everything begins to flow because of that connection. So if there is a being who has created this whole universe, what is his name? What is his nature? What are his powers? And how do I communicate with that being, so to say? So the scripture says, one of the methods by which one can develop concentration of mind, which will lead to self-realization, is by devotion to Ishvara. Okay, so the verse is Ishwar pranidhanat va. That means one can achieve nirvija samadhi through profound devotion to Ishvara. Okay, samadhi is gained through devotion to Ishvara. Samadhi is when the Jivatma merges in the Paramatma. That highest state can be achieved through devotion to Ishvara. So who is Ishvara? I have not quoted those verses. I've just given the meaning there. Ishvara is the supreme ruler of this whole universe, in which we all are parts of it. Just like in the total body, there are different cells. We are individual cells, but the sum total of all the cells makes my body. So in the body of the Ishvara, all beings, right from the small blade of grass to Lord Brahma, everything is in him. That is his being. He is the supreme being. So Ishvara is the supreme being, is a special Purusha. Okay, untouched by the misery. We at our level are affected by happiness and misery and all that. Whether the whole creation exists or disappears, it does not affect him. Such is his power, total detachment. Yet he is totally present in all things. Is unaffected by the actions. He creates and destroys. It doesn't mean that some harm comes to him or something like that. And he doesn't have any desires because he's totally fulfilled. In him becomes infinite that all knowingness in which in others is only a gem. That means he is omniscient, all knowing. Imagine a state of mind or state of being where there's no ignorance. Everything is revealed to you here and now. That luminous state of being is the mind or the being of Ishvara. And he is the teacher of even the ancient teachers. So all the wisdom that great incarnations and yogis and spiritual teachers come, their teacher, the source of knowledge, came from the Supreme Being, Ishvara, because he is the repository of all knowledge, spiritual knowledge. And he is not limited by time. That means, in this period of time he is there. He is eternal, immortal. And at the same time, even though he is the being behind the whole universe, he is present in us as our antaryami, inner controller. So we have a connection, so to say. And we want to use that connection to help us get out of this ignorance, limitations, bondage, repeated cycle of coming and going. So that was that there is a being and these are his qualities. So the next verse says, so what is the name of this Ishvara? Okay, how do we call him? Tasya Vachaka Pranava. That means the word, the name to designate him is Om. That's the most universal sound that can be made because it contains within itself the matrix of the total sound formation in the mouth. For example, if I say any word in any language, it is articulated by some permutation and combination of how I'm going to manipulate the sound that's coming out. But that sum total, at one end, it could be when the mouth is open, ah, and at the other end, when it has become closed, mm, and when the ah rolls to goes through u. So ah, u, when I combine together, becomes om, and in om is contained all words that can be spoken by anyone. So it's the most universal word, and as such, is the best symbol or name that can be given to the most universal being. So it makes sense. But that's only another logical way of explaining. There's much more meaning to that. That is not the only explanation. So, how to commune with this Ishvara? We want to have some communication. So, tad japa tadartha bhavanam. It means those who have finally understood the intrinsic relationship between Pranava and Ishvara. That means the name and the named are inseparably linked. Any object or any person, the moment your name is mentioned, you know you are being called. Or if somebody sees you, immediately in their mind, your name pops up. So the name and the named are connected or are identical. Nam, Nami, Abheda. Bheda means difference. Abheda means not different. Nam is the name and Nami is the person or the entity. The two are not separate. Ultimately, what appears to be Ishvara and his name will totally merge into one. So that's how the whole universe has been created. When the whole universe of all these names and plants and animals and solar systems, they merge together into that oneness, that sound that is created at the top level, it's the Om. That means all forms, all names have become merged into one. And that is the source of this whole universe. And out of that, we too have come. But we have lost that connection, have become differentiated. We have got a particular form and a particular name, and everything has become multifarious. But as we go deeper and deeper, you will find that the differences become less and less and less, and ultimately they all merge into that oneness. And that's a divine spiritual oneness where you feel one. Just like the Ishvara feels one with the whole universe, we will also feel one with the Ishvara and we'll feel one with the universe, in which everything is in me, I'm in everything, and I'm beyond any limitations, no bodies, no minds, no buddhis, no ego. That pure consciousness, that pure bliss is what the Ishvara enjoys. And that is also our divine birthright. But we have come down as Jivatmas, become entangled with this world, identified with things outside there. This is mine, that is mine. All those things are holding us down. Identified with this body, identified with this mind, with knowledge, and this ego. And these are the shackles, the prison house in which we have bound ourselves. How do I break this and become free? Okay, some energy is necessary that will shatter all these links and bondages. That energy that will heal me physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, that will awaken that power to give me that strength to strike off all the fetters that bind me down. That comes from where? Definitely it will not come from matter. It has to come from a higher source of energy. And that energy is present in a seed form potentially in that Om. That Om is constantly resounding in the heart of every living being. It is pulsating at this highest level, where this relative world is connected with the absolute world. That means right at the top of Brahmaloka, so to say, from the causal domain. Then it falls through the mental level and comes down to the physical level. By the time it comes down there, it has become lost in so many words like that. And that is also constantly arising. We discussed this in the last two classes. Constantly arising in every living being from the navel upwards. How? From the navel, the word A, at the heart, U, in the throat, and then that becomes into a bindu in between the eyebrows. It becomes a ardha chandra, like a half moon. Above that, it becomes a nirodhani, as a straight line. So it has what was sound, because sound is an energy, it's a vibration. That becomes into light. Light is another much more intense, a higher frequency of energy. Then it's not limited by that. It transcends beyond that. It goes into what is called the nada. Nada ends, it's called anta, nadanta. Beyond that, it becomes Shakti. Then, by that time, it has become totally identified with your whole being. When your mind rises to that level, you feel yourself as a fully luminous consciousness. But we are only a part of this total existence. When that energy rises even further, expands, then you will find that the whole universe is full of that consciousness, and I am a bubble, a part of that infinite ocean of consciousness. That is what happens when this I consciousness, which is now packed down, anchored down, stuck here, is freed from all these anchors, all these bondages, and when it rises to that, that experience is made available. Now that's fantastic. If I could have that, that's nirvana, that's freedom, that's self-realization, that's God realization, and then no more coming to this world. So the Supreme Being, when he created the universe and individual beings, he gave us the technique and the method by which we can also get out of it. And that is embedded in this pranava, the mantra Om. So it says, now, if you want to walk the path of freedom, what is the method? The japa. Repeat that. Repeat not mechanically. Okay. Sometimes people play some sound, Om, or some mantra is going on the radio, something like that. Okay. What happens with that? Yes, some good vibrations are going there. But here we want your mind to be fully engaged with the mantra. You address somebody whom you love very much. You just don't take the name casually. You say it with so much love and affection. You can say it in a very indifferent way. There's no response from the other person, but you can say it with so much sweetness that whatever, that person might be very angry, whatever, all that disappears, and he just feels that love and affection and connection. It's how you express the power that is there. So when we repeat the mantra, there should be a loving adoration of the divine being with all the sweetness that you can think of. Pour your heart into it. So bhavana is not just contemplation of intellectual meaning. A word can have some meaning, but it's the heart that's speaking, not the intellect that's speaking. Intellect will give you some meaning, okay, but the emotional energy that's infused in the name or what you utter is what bhavana is all about. It's more about feeling. Okay, so that japa means repeat it in cycle. Keep the mind in that loop. There so many thousands of words are constantly coming in there. There are a lot of noise there, clutter, unnecessary things are happening, disturbing the mind, making it all unsettled. Okay, we can't do very much about them and say remove them all out. They again just jump in there. When we try to make a vacuum, they all jump. So what we do is we say we'll take one very pure mantra which has got a lot of potency in there, very holy, positive, spiritual energy. And I'll keep my mind in that loop. That process of keeping it within that loop is repetition of that, and that's called japa technically. That's why we do it. Not let anything enter. You'll find that now and then some other thoughts will intrude and take your mind all around the place. You have to be very vigilant. Otherwise, you'll go on a world tour. Okay, for 10 minutes, you're thinking, you're physically sitting there, thinking you're meditating, but the mind is going. So there is this buddhi has to be very vigilant. A part of the mind is doing the repetition. Another part of the mind is watching. Are you still doing there or you've gone somewhere? And if you're alert, and bring it back. But if you are lazy and tired and this and that, then you lose that control and you're all over the place. So you have to do, when you do this japa, should be fully alert and fully concentrated, and full love and affection is there, and everything else for the time being is removed from that mental space. The whole mind is given to that being. That is called japa. That is the method. So what happens there? Okay. What is the result of devotion to Ishvara by meditating on and repeating the mantra? You might say, because everyone wants to know the result of something. That's why I will do something. I go to work because I'll get money. I'll take up some sports because that's going to be my profession, or I just enjoy it. But I want to know what's the result. So here the teacher is saying, what will happen? And they say, Tatra pratyek chetanadhigamo api antaraya abhavascha. So I've given the meanings there. Tatha means from that practice of devotion to Ishvara, by meditating and repeating the Om, that's what you're doing every day, morning and evening, as much as possible, wherever you're sitting, 5 minutes in the bus you're traveling, nothing to do, instead of surfing on the Google or web, he said, I'm going to give my mind the 10 minutes are there, I'll repeat this mantra, shut my eyes and focus within yourself, get yourself grounded, connect yourself to the, you can do that all the time. If you are very particular about it, you will find time everywhere. But if you're not particular about the 24 hours, you will go just like every day it flows by. So if you are very serious, what happens? From that practice of devotion to Ishvara, by the repetition of mantra and meditating on that Om, Adhigama, comes the realization of Pratyek Chetana, one's own true self, one's own spiritual self. That is the goal that we will reach. It's wonderful. You said, I want self-realization. And this is saying, just by this process of repetition of the mantra, an awakening will happen, which will transform this ordinary mind, purify it, transform and sublimate this ordinary buddhi into a spiritual entity. And I will have that experience. All me. That's wonderful. That's a wonderful promise. And at the same time, it says, antaraya abhavascha, as well as removal of obstacles. Now, this is very, very important. You say, yes, I'm trying to meditate, but there are so many obstacles. My body is not steady, my mind is not steady, the thoughts are coming, I don't have that enthusiasm, I don't have that energy. Some days I get a good meditation, other days I don't get. And then, there's so much doubt, there's so much confusion. All these are obstacles in the practice. You're not like shooting down the highway. There's so many bends and ups and downs and obstacles, and you find that some days you're moving and not moving. So your question would be, can you please clear the road first so that I can drive? The answer is that embedded in this mantra, Om itself is the power that will remove the obstacles. Two things are there. One is the healing power, the strengthening power, and second is the illuminating power. So you don't require something else and say, let's get preparation and everything is done, then the main activity of the sadhana will take place. No, embedded within the mantra is the power to both heal us. I've used the word healing because in this age, we feel that we are very healthy and all that. But from a spiritual point of view, where somebody is fully illumined, total health would be to be established in our true nature. Okay. In Hindi, when somebody wants to ask about your health, he'll say, "Aapka swasth kaisa hai?" Then you feel that he's asking about my physical health. And if you're feeling well, you say, "I'm feeling good." But the word swasth comes from swastha. Stha means to be sthapana, to be established in. Swa means your true nature. The question asked not only about the physical body, it's a much bigger question being asked about, are you established in your spiritual self? See? And therefore, suddenly it has become much more profound and meaningful. So it's not asking about your physical health, it's asking about your emotional health, asking about your intellectual health, all that clarity is there. It's asking about your moral and spiritual health, and ultimate moral and ethical health, and ultimately the spiritual health. Because we are not only the body, we are also an intellectual being, an emotional being, a moral being, and ultimately, fundamentally, primarily, a spiritual being. That 5 dimensions that we talk about is what we really are. So most of the time we are just bothered about your physical health, eating, resting, and exercising and all that. What else? A little bit of intellectual health by going to some education system and developing this mind and sharp so that we can earn some livelihood. What about emotional health? No training or anything is given there. What about moral and ethical teachings that's necessary to make ourselves strong? Randomly here, there, we can pick. What about spiritual health? Many people don't even understand or know or acknowledge that there is a spiritual dimension to themselves. So we are already in a very diseased situation, so to say. There's so many aspects of our personality that is not even developed or exercised and strengthened. And when we start to go take up the spiritual path, then these undeveloped, weak links in our system, they become the obstacles. The mind is not cooperating, the concentration is not there, the body is lethargic or sick, there's no clarity in our understanding. So these are the methods, the problems that all of us will face as we start the spiritual practices. Okay, who can help me overcome that? It's our body, our mind. No one can enter into us and help us. The solution must come from within. The one who has created this also has given us that power deep inside us by which we can heal ourselves, whether it's physical health or mental health or emotional health or spiritual health. Strength is life, weakness is death. Weakness comes when we don't exercise ourselves in some part. But if we exercise any particular part of the body, that becomes stronger. Okay, so what are the exercises by which those dimensions of our personality become very strong? What is the exercise? The exercise is the spiritual exercise of japa and meditation. As we resonate with that energy awakens in us and it nourishes, makes every dimension of our being healthy and strong. You'll feel that awakening of that energy. The enthusiasm that was lacking there is now there. The mind has got that clarity. The body feels very nice and calm. The unnecessary dissipation of energies out there becomes less. You feel that you are building something up. And inner strength, goodness, wellness begins to come. So the teacher said it has the repetition, japa and repetition of this mantra has got this twofold impact. One is it will lift your mind, purify the mind, Shuddha Man, into a Shuddha Buddhi, into a Shuddha Atma. Sri Ramakrishna talks about this. So the same mind that we have, which is scattered all over the place, weak and everything, confused, has to be now transformed. You will not get another mind from outside. Okay, this itself has to be revoked and exercised and trained, and it will become something higher, which becomes the Buddhi state. And ultimately, it will merge into that Atman state. So, Maneva, this mind itself is the vehicle through which we have to reach the goal. But the vehicle is now very weak and rattling and not properly taken care of. We have to nurture it, protect it, guide it, strengthen it, and then it will become the means to achieve that goal. So, remember, two parts are there. One, there will be an inner healing, removing of all the obstacles, and then at the same time, there will be a revelation or self-realization or illumination regarding the spiritual dimension of our being. These are the two outcomes or results that are promised through the practice of japa and meditation. So it's wonderful. We've been looking for people to help us, doctors or this and that. Now I can heal myself. I'm looking for teachers who will give me illumination or God realization. No, I can take that on my own self. This is the empowering power. I don't have to depend on anyone. I will have depend only with the divine in myself, and I have the means there. And he's ever ready to help. I'm just going to start taking my first steps and see whether that communication takes place. So, in that way, let's go. What are the impediments that disturb the mind? So there's a list of things. What are the problems that we fall? They say, and there are 9 such problems that the repetition of this mantra will take care of. Okay. So what are these? Vyadhi. Vyadhi means sickness or disease. When the body is not in a very healthy state, okay, it could be due to some change outside, external conditions are changing, or some and bacteria or virus or something enters and your immune system is not strong enough to respond and overcome them, then the body succumbs. So this would be disease. It's a weak state of body or immune system that succumbs to the external forces. Okay, so that's an impediment. When you're sick, your body is not good, you can't sit down for long and practice meditation. The whole mind comes and gets more focused about your body, how to think about the spiritual part of it. So that's a impediment. The other one is sthana. Sthana means incapacity of the mind. So the mind is very weak. You try to understand something or practice the meditation, within 5 minutes you feel tired, and you're not able to retain that for a long time. That is a weak mind. We want to make a mind strong itself. We want to make the body strong. We want to make this strong. So these are the problems that will be solved, or obstacles that will be overcome by the repetition of the mantra. Okay, so what says the diseases will be overcome by the repetition of the mantra, where you'll have good health. You'll find, body is glowing, have a very good sense of well-being and just healthy in there. You're not even aware of the body. A good sign of good health is you're not aware of the body. When you're sick, then your whole mind is anchored, constantly thinking. Children, they don't even feel, because the wellness, the health is so good, they don't even feel that they are in a body. But the sick person is constantly meditating on the body itself. So weak mind is strengthened. Some energy awakens when the mind becomes strong. Sthyan. Samshaya. Samshaya is a doubt. Somebody, teacher, tells you something, and then from somewhere something enters and puts the whole thing in disorder, and you are not sure whether I should do this or not should do that. It's right or wrong, it's good or bad. So as soon as the doubt enters, it takes out the petrol out of the vehicle. Suddenly all the drive and everything begins to go, and suddenly you say, I should not go, maybe I should go, I should not go. So doubt is a great obstacle. On the other hand, that certainty, that firm conviction, when it comes and steady, and whatever comes, it says, no, I have got my compass ready, my direction is set, absolutely no doubt where I'm going, and I just brush off any disturbing idea that comes. That strength of mind, which cannot be unsettled by any, or confused by any new idea that comes, that is what we want, isn't it? Without any doubt. So these are 9 undesirable states of mind that form obstructions in the path of spiritual progress. Okay, we don't have time to go through all of them. We'll continue this the next week, but I would like you to revise what we have said. Okay, that there is this being Ishvara, that his name is Pranava, Om, and the method for self-unfoldment and well-being is to repeat that with great devotion and contemplate on the being, the nature of that being. And when you do that, 2 things will happen. It will open the way to self-realization. At the same time, it will remove all these obstacles that will impede our way, progress. It slows us down. It does 2 things. It removes all the obstacles and makes his way through. Just like, when there is snow on the road in countries, they have this vehicle there which has got this V shape. So as it moves, it removes the snow out of the way and keeps on moving. 2 things, both things it does. It doesn't require, say to somebody, can you please clear the way and then only I go. No, it will remove the job of removing the obstacles and progressing us towards our spiritual goal. What are the obstacles? We have just touched 2 of them today. Okay, one is vyadhi, sickness of the body, disturbed state of mind, and sthyan means incapacity of the mind. The mind is weak and all that. How do we make it full of energy and vigor and enthusiasm so that I go into this? The others one are a doubt, then pramada is delusion, alasya is sloth, laziness and all that, avriti, you're trying to go inwards and the mind is trying to go outwards towards a sense enjoyments. That's a problem. Okay, then sometimes you are trying to raise your mind to a degree of concentration, some yogic state. You're not able to do that. That's a problem. At other times you get there, but you are not able to hold there for long. It again slips down. This is a problem. All these are called antaraya, means obstacles to the path of yoga. And what is promised here is that by the repetition of this mantra that is being given by Guru, or just by the repetition of form, all these obstacles will be removed and you will move in the spiritual direction. Spiritual direction means the higher dimensions of our own being, beyond the physical, beyond the mental, beyond the emotional, beyond the intellectual, beyond the moral, ethical, into the spiritual. And once we are there, then we are unlimited, pure, perfect. We become one like Ishvara. We experience, have the experience. We don't become another Ishvara, but we experience that omniscience, omnipresence, infinite knowledge, bliss, happiness, eternal, immortal state, because that's where we are from. But as a jiva, we have become entrapped in this body, all these limitations. Within us is this mantra Om that's going all the time. We don't hear that because our ears are tuned to hearing the gross things outside. But as the body and mind becomes subtle, sensitive enough, you'll hear that particular sound constantly arising from the navel upwards. So we're talking about some very practical aspects of sadhana. And this is the essence of all the scriptures. Okay, essence means how do I realize the truth? Tell me, don't give me only the intellectual idea, but tell me the proper method by which I can do, which is very simple, by which I can realize the truth for myself. So please go through this, and then next week we will continue this and try to dive deep and understand a little bit more, so that that urge and the interest comes to practice this. Let us now go back and do a little bit of our regular meditation, as we do every week. We'll do a short one, 10 minutes, but you will do for at least half an hour every day. So let us sit upright, keeping the back, neck, and head in a relaxed upright posture. Visualize your body to be strong and healthy, full of light, illumination, purity, goodness, beauty. Focus on breath. Inhale and exhale in a deep rhythmic manner. As you inhale, visualize that you are breathing in a pure light that illumines every cell of your body, every corner of your mind. As you breathe out, all negativity, stress, distractions are expelled from your being. Breathe in and out in this way. We'll do it for 3 times, but you should do for a dozen times at least, and you'll feel that the whole body mind becomes calm and ready for meditation. Let's pray for the welfare of all beings. May that Supreme Being, who is of the nature of eternal existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, purity, goodness, holiness, freedom, and all divine qualities, out of whom this whole universe and all its living beings have come, who sustains this whole creation, into whom this whole creation is absorbed again, who resides in the heart of every living being. May the Divine endow us with the spiritual qualities and strength, so that we may disengage the pursuit of only worldly things and direct this mind to that ultimate source of our being, which is our destiny. May the Divine grant that all are happy, all are joyful and peaceful, and all seek the spiritual being as the goal of their life. Send out your prayers to your right. See your thoughts going out forever, helping and uplifting all they come across. Send them to your left, in front, behind, above, below, in all directions. We pray for all because we are all one ultimately in the supreme existence. Now withdraw your mind from the outside world and focus in the center of your heart. Visualize your body is strong and healthy, steady, calm, perfect. Visualize that pervading the physical body and overlapping it is the finer body, the subtle body, the mental body. Imagine it to be made of luminous ideas, beautiful thoughts and sentiments, pure. Visualize that beyond this mental body is the causal body, the body of intelligence, absolutely luminous, bright and shining. And beyond that is the infinite Atman, pure, perfect, peaceful, serene. In that ocean of consciousness, visualize a lotus, fully bloomed, full of freshness and fragrance. In the center of that lotus, visualize a flame like a lamp kept in a windless place, absolutely steady, spreading its radiance in all directions. You may replace that flame with any divine form of your choice or your chosen ideal as given by your Guru. The name of that Supreme Being, the Ishvara, is Om, or the mantra that has been given by your spiritual teacher. Visualize that the light emanating from that Supreme Being to be the light of spiritual knowledge that dispels the darkness of ignorance. It's a light of bliss that fills you with joy and happiness. It's a light of supreme peace that fills you with serenity and tranquility. It's a light of absolute strength that makes you strong morally, emotionally, intellectually, physically. Focus your whole mind on the divine within your heart. Feel the living presence, the warmth and love of His affection and compassion and eagerness to provide us all that we require. Focus your whole mind on His divine form and repeat the mantra. If you're initiated, repeat the mantra of your chosen ideal. Or you may repeat the mantra Om. Or you may repeat the mantra, the Gayatri mantra. But be watchful that the mind keeps contemplating on that form and the repetition of the mantra. If it wanders away somewhere, anywhere, gently bring it back and engage it, re-engage it in this repetition. In this way, focus totally on the divine within yourself and keep it anchored, keep the mind anchored there with the help of the repetition of the mantra. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. So after meditating for at least half an hour in this way, we surrender the results of our Japan meditation to the Divine, the Ishvara, who dwells in our own heart, because it is of His powers that everything has happened, and ultimately everything is offered to Him as an offering, a puja. And during the day, try to see as much as possible, whenever you remember, to repeat the mantra. There is no rules that you cannot do it this time or that time. The more you do, the better, with great devotion and focus. Maintain that current as much as possible in the day. And in the evening, again, we must give a nice wash to the mind, so to say, by this wonderful energy, spiritual energy of the mantra through japa and meditation. And feel that presence of the divine in your heart all the time. Talk to him, communicate with him. Know that just like a mother is there present, always mindful of the child's needs, likewise the divine is always there protecting us, guiding us. And if there is any problem, any challenge, any issue that you face in life, just like a child would first run to the mother, knowing that she is all powerful and can fulfill all his or her needs. Likewise, we also, as our first port of call, should call the divine within ourselves and seek his protection and guidance. And you'll find that because he is present in all beings, he is the Antaryami. It's very easy for him to organize things around you where things become properly aligned, people, situation, and things. When he is gracious, then all situations become very conducive for your spiritual progress. When we don't seek him, then we are on our own with our limited resources and we have issues here and there. So when this wonderful help is necessary in our spiritual journey, in our everyday life, why should we not access it? You have to test it out for yourself whether something happens or not, and you will find that your own experience will give you the conviction and understanding that what we are telling is not only some theory, but it is something that is the truth, and we can access that to have a better quality of life and reach the destination, the journey, the goal of our life in this life itself. So we will meet again next Sunday and continue on this topic. In the meantime, you are expected to seriously do your japa and meditation. And today again, we will, in an hour's time, continue with our talk on practical spirituality, wherein we are trying to develop a framework, a matrix, which will help us very quickly and easily understand the spiritual teachings that come to us in our scriptures in a very systematic, organized way, so that the knowledge comes and we go to the next stage of applying that and traveling the journey rather than just studying the map all the time. So how quickly we can learn how to use that map and start the journey is what we're trying to do. And we'll develop some techniques by which the sages, the teachings that the spiritual sages have given to us become very clear in a simpler way. So we'll meet again. Until then, keep safe.